I love that transition. Greetings, Wanderer. This is Atlas here, and welcome to the Void. Today I'm going to be reacting and breaking down a song called Gyoubu Oniwa's theme from SEKIRO Shadows Die Twice original soundtrack. This is one of the coffee personal requests that I had scheduled for this month, and this one comes from Azir Paradigm. And the comment says, "Greetings, Atlas. I was hoping you would cover Gyoubu Oniwa's theme from SEKIRO Shadows Die Twice. For context, Gyoubu Oniwa, also known as Gyoubu the Demon, is a loyal retainer of the main antagonist and is one of the first bosses in a From Software game, I suppose, to fight on a horseback. He has also become something of a meme for the way he shouts his way into the arena. I really like this one. I think it's seriously underrated. P.S. bonus points if you can hear the horse." Okay. Well, that's an interesting premise about the horse indeed. But thank you, Sir Paradigm, for your request and of course your incredible continuous support. So I'm really looking forward to it. Onward. Alright, this is going to be Gyoubu Oniwa from SEKIRO Shadows Die Twice OST. Boom. Okay, it's already starting with a fair amount of energy. A lot of tribal arrangements in the percussion. Also these war shouts imbued into the song. That transition was really cool. You can hear the cellos keeping the tightness on the track. Span to the right. I love that transition. That was awesome. I think it went a little bit up in the tempo. This is probably like a second phase of the boss, I'm guessing. Because it went up tempo, I think. Might have to listen to it again. Oh, he actually has a resolution, which is surprising. There we go. Yeah, there it is. Of course, that resolution works really well to be looped over again. You know, it ends in a way that you can pretty much hear a transition towards the beginning of a track in a very seamless way because, well, it's a boss battle, you know. You don't know how much time you're going to be spending on fighting the boss, but at the same time, it seems to me like the song has the boss has two faces, or at least the song has, because for the second half, or roughly the second part, or something like that, I think it went up in tempo. I'm gonna have to re-listen the track again because maybe I'm mistaken, but. If that's the case, that's probably like another phase of the boss battle or something along those lines. When you get him to half health, it changes the fighting style, or you know, something along those lines. But yeah, this track is very high energy. It's not so much like a super wall of sound, but it's along that realm. But we're going to be talking more in depth about those things in the breakdown, so let's break it down. Alright, so for this particular breakdown, I just would like to open my commentary by just talking a little bit about, you know, in general terms, about where the song, let's say about the storytelling of the song, where it's based and where it goes in terms of that, and also some other overarching characteristics that the song has. Okay. Which I already mentioned a little bit briefly during the reaction of the song. Just from the get-go, like the song, it starts, you know, with fairly high energy in terms of the amount of layers that are involved in the track. Lower mid to the low section of the string section, apologies, along with this woodwind solo instrument that I don't really know the name of it, but it sounds very folk, you know what I mean? It's probably a woodwind instrument that is used in Japanese, you know, folk music. But I don't really know the name of this flute or this woodwind instrument that is in the song. But it's certainly like a very important element that is not, surprisingly enough, it's not like it's not present throughout the song, but when it is, it actually creates a very important situation within the song because it pierces through the whole layers. You know what I mean? It's like on top of everything. I just want to mention briefly also that I didn't listen to the horse in the song. Okay, I didn't listen to any horse in the song, but what I'm willing to say is that that woodwind instrument that we hear on top of all the mix, you know, of all the layers of a song that the song has, could potentially be interpreted as a horse, you know, the niching of a horse, you know, when the woodwind, this woodwind instrument sounds or comes into play in the arrangement. So that's what I'm willing to as far as my imagination goes, that could be like an element that could be emulating in some sense, you know, the horse that this boss is that is part of the boss battle, right? It's the mount of the boss. So however, that element is spare, is scattered, let's say, all along the song. You know, it's not necessarily like the spearhead of a song. It becomes the spearhead of the song somewhere in between, but it's not all along the track. Which leads me to my other observation about the song in general, and is that, to me, the song didn't really have like a very specific leitmotif or whatsoever. Or maybe it has, but it wasn't so catching to me that maybe it escapes, you know, my attention in that regard. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, because you for the most part, you want your song to have an identifiable, undeniably identifiable part of a song that people would remember, right? So, in my opinion, that was not necessarily in the woodwind solo instrument that we hear in the song, but neither in the string section, neither in the brass. I think if we were to find something along those lines, it's more towards the drums and even a little bit the martial shouts, you know, the warlike shouts that we hear here and there in the measures, you know, in the bars, in the beats, in certain parts of the beat. Yeah, I couldn't really listen anything particularly that you would hear the song, or like you would remember from the song that something very specific, like a melody, you know, something like that. It wasn't like that to me at all. But what I could say is that the most memorable parts for me were, like I said before, like the tribal drums that we hear, the martial shouts, and the brass arrangement, which is not necessarily a martial brass or something like an imperial march or whatever, but it's serving that martial vibe that there is built from the drums, from the bottom to the top. Because to me, I've talked about this before, like music has like this structure, like it's a house, right? And the foundation of it, it's like the drums or the percussion. And I've been saying drums all along, but I'm gonna say percussion from now on. It will be like the most accurate term, I would say. It's building upon that, and then you have like the low end, which will be the counter bass, and you know the higher low end, in quote unquote, towards the lower mids and the higher mids, which is the whole string section. And the cymbals and whatnot are on top, as well as maybe the choirs if you have some and whatnot. But those are very dynamic in terms of the not the cymbals, but the choirs are very dynamic. They can occupy different places in the house, let's say. But since the foundation of the track is this tribal percussion, and also it's building upon that premise, the martial shouts and the like brass arrangements that are building towards that premise, then yes, of course, it's very it builds a lot upon the storytelling of the track of this boss. Now, there was a picture during the video of the song that it's probably the, you know, like a screenshot from the game or something. Or an art or something, where you see like this armor-clad samurai or something on top of a horse. So that fits the description of that Sir Paradigm said about the boss. And he looks like this kind of warlord, you know what I mean? And the reason why I say this is because the very music, it's like giving that storytelling by itself. You know, the martial drums and whatnot, the martial warlike shouts in the song and whatnot are what are actually describing maybe not so much the background of well, yes, the background of the boss itself, like a little bit of who he is. I've never played Sekiro, by the way, but I think that, you know, it's probably placed during the shogunate towards the, I don't know, the 16th, 17th century or something like that. I did another song from Sekiro called, I will tell you in a bit, let me see, Divine Dragon. I did Divine Dragon before this, and I said that I wasn't sure if there was like gunpowder involved in this era of the game where the game is inspired, and it's apparently there is. So it's probably more than it's beyond the 15th century. That's for sure. You know, during these shogunates and whatnot, there were a lot of factions, you know, that were in constant warring between each other. So it wouldn't surprise me that this lad was either part of that or you know, maybe like a Splinter Cell warlord kind of thing. Now, of course, this is just completely out of. It's just an hypothesis. I don't know anything about the game at all. But based on what I hear in the music, you know, where it goes in terms of the arrangements and the composition or whatnot, that's kind of the storytelling that I can build just based on what I hear in the song, okay? Now, to finalize my commentary, I just would like to say that probably one of my favorite parts of the song is roughly to the second half of it, where it goes up in tempo, okay? I have my suspicion that this is like a second phase of a boss or something along those lines, because it increases the tempo of the song, and also the song already started by having this high energy, high stakes kind of vibe, right? There were a lot of layers involved. The tribal percussion is very. There's a lot going on in there. Like, it's very populated. You know, there's a lot of arrangements. Like, the pattern is populated in terms of what's going on in the percussion. Okay. So I'm not entirely sure how much the song goes up. Maybe could go up 20 BPM, 30 BPM even. 30 BPM is a lot, but yeah, maybe like 20, let's say, just as a guess. I have absolutely no idea. But the fact is that the song goes up in the tempo, and by going up in the tempo, of course, it creates more of the angst, more of the tension, more of the struggle that there is within the track from the beginning, because the high energy that the song is communicating from the get-go, it's just trying to translate like the high stakes of the situation, right? Like, this is a boss battle. Of course, there's not only the struggle of the battle itself, but also the tension built within it, are you going to make it or not? And that is doubled, basically, even though the tempo is not necessarily doubled, but that is doubled just by the increase in the tempo, because when the tempo goes up, you feel like more of the tension of a track. Like, I think that's what the you know, the change in the tempo does with the song. Like, it increases the tension of it, because if you hear the song, there's not a like very clear transitions where the dynamic of the song, like the energy drops, and it's like a more tame part of a track, right? This track doesn't have that. It's like, it's more even like the song starts with this fairly high energy, high stake part, and then it goes up the tempo, and then it goes even further up, right? I think that's the kind of way the way this composition is like structured in terms of the energy and the tension of it as well. So they go mutually like they work mutually in as a consonant, let's say, like the energy within the tension. Both of them go up in roughly at the second half of a song. And another thing that is very important to mention is that the transitions that we hear in the track, you know, separating it from the tempo itself, is when it goes even the transitions. There are some transitions in which you will hear the song go to a higher register or higher in pitch, and you can hear that. I think that there is like an arrangement, this solo woodwind instrument that goes along with the higher with a higher pitch, you know, Marshall-like brass arrangement too. I'm gonna play like a little snippet of that so you can hear what I mean. That kind of thing. So that also, you know, when you go higher in pitch or to a higher register in any instrument, it has the ability to also raise the tension of a track. If you go lower on pitch, it can also have that same effect. But this is so circumstantial, you know what I mean? When you go down, if you go up or down, it can create different effects. If you go here, like in this song, when it went to a higher pitch, it creates more tension. If the song were to go lower, then I think it would have released a little bit of tension. But there are so many things that could that depend on that premise that it's like a very basic answer to tell you like it goes down or up or whatever. It's going to depend a lot of what are the layers involved, how it is composed, you know, the arrangements within it, and whatnot. But what I'm trying to say is that by going lower in the arrangement or the pitch of the instruments, it could release the tension, but it also could also either maintain or release the tension or build the tension even further. Apologies. But that's an interesting thing that I wanted to mention just before I wrap this up. So I would say that my favorite parts about this song were probably like the tribal percussion, you know. It's what builds the song from the ground up and what has the most storytelling, along with the, you know, martial shouts, the warlike shouts that we hear in the song, and the brass, which is this song is very heavy on the percussion and the brass arrangements, and you know, the string section, surprisingly enough, is there just as a support element. It's not so much involved into telling the story. However, like I said before, I couldn't really identify a melody or something that is really giving me that memorable thing, like I'm going to remember this song just because I heard this in specific, okay? But if you happen to listen to that, to have listened to that in the song, please tell me in the comments, because I really couldn't hear it. And as far as the horse goes, I couldn't hear it at all. But I'm guessing that it could be related to the woodwind solo instrument that we hear here and there. So I'm gonna give this track a silver badge. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and share it with your friend. Also, please don't forget to visit my Patreon, my Ko-fi profile, and my Ko-fi store in case you want to support my work further, and my Teespring merch shop. And of course, ex nihilo nihil fit.